They say the darkest hours reveal our most faithful hearts, so imagine the city still wrapped in pre-dawn silence when, at 4:45 a.m., Maya Bennett slips through the bakery's back door clutching a lone cinnamon roll and a piping hot cup of coffee. Her pulse races as she tiptoes down the alley, aware that any moment could expose her secret mission. Leaving this humble gift and a hand-scrawled note, "May today bring you strength," on a cold, graffiti-scarred bench. No one suspects that behind Maya's calm exterior lies a promise she's kept for 3 years, which will soon erupt into a moment neither she nor Mr. Walker will ever forget. Her colleagues scoff that she's wasting good pastries, and a well-meaning manager once suggested she donate to a shelter instead. But Maya refused to compromise her ritual, simply arriving 15 minutes earlier so that her kindness remained invisible and, in her eyes, all the more genuine. Then came the crumpled note, scrawled in trembling graphite, "Thank you for seeing me as a person." That moment transformed Maya's quiet devotion into a beacon of hope, reminding us that compassion needs no audience, and that, sometimes, the smallest gesture can stir the most significant change. Every day, as dawn's first gray light seeped into coastal city's quiet streets, Maya Bennett braced for another round of whispered judgments. At 4:45 a.m. sharp, she would slip out the back door of Sunrise Bakery, where she'd risen through the ranks to become head pastry chef by age 33, cradling a single cinnamon roll and a steaming cup of black coffee like a secret blessing. For 3 steadfast years, Maya had laid this humble offering on the same weathered bench outside the bus stop, a simple note, "May today bring you strength," folded neatly beside it. Yet while Maya found purpose in this unseen act, her co-workers could only see wasted pastries. "She's throwing away good product," one baker grumbled. Another scoffed. "What if he never even eats it?" Their murmurs followed her through the ovens each morning. Then came the manager's gentle reprimand, "Your charity is admirable, but some customers feel uneasy. Maybe donate to a shelter instead?" Most people would have folded under that pressure, but not Maya. Determined to keep her ritual pure, she shifted her schedule, arriving 15 minutes earlier so that no one witnessed her devotion. Still, secrecy couldn't shield her from scorn. Last week, a new hire spotted her on her return and whispered loud enough for Maya to hear, "She's been feeding that bum for years now." A nearby patron shook her head in pity. "Poor thing. Thinking she's making a difference." Maya stiffened, not because their words stung her pride, but because they missed the point entirely. They saw a problem to be solved, not a man to be honored. In those moments of doubt, she clutched the memory of the crumpled pencil note she once found beside her offering. "Thank you for seeing me as a person." That single line, so fragile in graphite, reminded Maya that genuine kindness doesn't seek applause. It exists to uphold someone's dignity, one sunrise at a time. And as she wiped flour from her hands and prepared for another long shift, she carried with her the unwavering conviction that small acts, performed without fanfare, can transform lives in ways no skeptic could ever imagine. As the weeks slipped into months, Maya Bennett's quiet mission took on a new, unexpected dimension. One damp morning in late November, she arrived at the bus stop bench as usual, cinnamon roll in hand, coffee steaming in its paper cup, only to find a folded scrap of notebook paper tucked beneath her offering. Heart-pounding, she unfolded it to read, "Thank you for seeing me as a person," scrawled in a shaky but deliberate hand. For a moment, the world around her blurred, the hiss of the coffee machine, the hum of early traffic. Even her colleagues' whispered judgments melted away under the weight of that single, profound message. That note became Maya's talisman. She slipped it into her pocket and carried it with her through sunrise rushes and mid-morning lull, drawing strength from the knowledge that her kindness had pierced the armor of someone who for years had seemed invisible. Encouraged by the man's courage to express gratitude, she resolved to broaden her circle of compassion, starting with her own bakery team. At her fiancé Daniel's gentle urging, she ordered extra pastries and brewed an enormous carafe of coffee for her coworkers, presenting them with the same note that had changed her, "Thank you for seeing me." Some smiled, some rolled their eyes, but all paused long enough to consider the simple truth that recognition can bridge worlds. Spurred by that shared moment, Maya decided to extend an invitation to her upcoming wedding, a celebration of love she would share with family and friends and anyone who had crossed her path on that bench. She printed elegant cards. Join us on December 12th to celebrate, to stand together, to honor every life that matters. In sharing her story of small, steadfast kindness, Maya discovered that generosity begets generosity. What began as a solitary act at dawn would soon become a communal pledge to remember every person's worth. Long after the last pastry was sold and the final toast was raised. The morning of Maya Bennett's wedding dawned with an electric tension she could almost taste in the cool December air. As she smoothed the final folds of her ivory gown in the bridal suite, her heart thundered not from nerves about walking down the aisle, but from the promise she'd made to herself. Everyone who mattered would stand beside her today. Cards had gone out to family and friends and to every face she knew by that early morning bench, including the man she simply called Mr. Walker. Maya slipped a final note into her clutch as floral arrangements bloomed in pastel whites and soft greens. "Thank you for seeing me." Then she stepped into the silent hush of the church foyer, where her bridesmaids caught their breath at the sight of her radiant smile. Through the stained glass windows, guests filtered in, cousins in velvet wraps, childhood friends in sharp tuxedos, even the mayor of Coastal City. Yet as the brass doors swung open, her breath caught when she spotted him. At the back of the church stood Mr. Walker, not in his usual tattered coat, but in a charcoal gray suit whose sleeves were slightly short, and shoes polished enough to catch the candlelight. His silver hair was neatly combed, his posture unsteady yet dignified. A ripple of confusion passed through the crowd. A few guests leaned in to whisper, "Who invited him? Has she lost her mind?" But in Maya's chest, suspicion dissolved into a fierce warmth. She crossed the aisle in a silent flurry of lace, her bouquet raised like a banner of inclusion, and wrapped him in a gentle embrace. He closed his eyes, head resting for a heartbeat on her shoulder, as if finding solid ground after years afloat. Then, from the back, boots clicking against marble drew every eye. 12 U.S. Marines filed in perfect formation, their dress blues gleaming under the chandeliers. They saluted, first to the officiant, then, in unison, to Maya and Mr. Walker. The lead Marine's voice rang out, on behalf of Bravo Company. 4th Battalion, we honor the woman whose compassion sustained one of our own. Day after day, gasps echoed in the vaulted ceiling as the 2nd Marine stepped forward with a polished shadow box revealing a silver star and a faded photograph of Mr. Walker rescuing a wounded comrade under fire. Maya's cheeks glowed with tears as she clasped Mr. Walker's hand. Today, every whispered doubt was silenced. In that moment, she knew true celebration is more than vows and cake. It is the affirmation that every soul deserves its day in the light. As the echo of Marine boots faded, Maya Bennett stood beside Mr. Walker, now Sergeant James Roberts, USMC, his eyes wide with disbelief. Captain Emily Johnson, pristine uniform beneath the soft morning light, stepped forward and opened a polished walnut case. Inside gleamed a Navy cross and a bronze star, the ribbons still vibrant against the velvet lining. By order of the Secretary of the Navy, Captain Johnson announced, her voice steady, "We honor Sergeant Roberts for conspicuous gallantry under fire on March 15, 2007. Actions that saved 9 fellow Marines in Helmand Province." A hush fell over the congregation as photographs were passed hand to hand. Roberts bracing a burning Humvee against an ambush. Roberts carrying a gravely wounded comrade through swirling dust. Tears welled in Maya's eyes as she recognized the face in every frame, the same gentle man she'd fed each dawn, now revealed as a battlefield legend. Murmurs of, "My goodness," and, "I had no idea," rippled through the pews. Her skeptical aunt wiped her cheeks and whispered, "He's a real hero." Roberts, cuffed moments earlier for defending his life, straightened at the podium. His gravelly voice trembled as he addressed the room. "I never asked for thanks. Duty is its reward, but Maya's kindness reminded me that I'm more than my uniform, I'm still human." His gaze met Maya's, and she offered him the note she'd carried all week. "May today bring you strength." With a gentle nod, Roberts placed it in his breast pocket. Then Captain Johnson turned to the wedding celebrant. In light of these extraordinary circumstances, we request that all obligations and judgments against Sergeant Roberts be rescinded." The officiant's gavel echoed like distant thunder. Everyone rose as one to salute. Not just a Marine, but a man rescued from obscurity by simple, steadfast compassion. In that charged moment, Maya realized the power of a single act to rewrite a life's story. Beneath the cathedral's vaulted ceiling, vows gave way to gratitude, and a wedding became a tribute to love, service, and the unbreakable bond between kindness and courage. In the days that followed the ceremony, Sergeant James Roberts's life transformed in ways he'd never imagined. Within 48 hours, the Veterans Affairs Office confirmed an administrative error. His disability rating would be upgraded from 60% to 100% service-connected, retroactive to his 2008 discharge date. The back pay, totaling more than $180, arrived as a direct deposit, ensuring he could finally afford stable housing, ongoing therapy, and medication. Roberts blinked at his bank balance, tears welling as he realized the security those numbers represented. Meanwhile, Maya and her new husband, firefighter Daniel Harris, turned their wedding gift fund into a grassroots nonprofit, Dawn's Promise. In collaboration with local veteran service organizations, they launched a mobile breakfast outreach, the Morning Watch, offering hot meals, warm coffee, and legal clinics to unhoused veterans across San Diego County. Within weeks, volunteers from Daniel's fire station and Maya's bakery cohort joined in, driving converted food trucks to parks, shelters, and freeway underpasses. City Council member Rita Alvarez, moved by news of the ceremony and Roberts's upgraded benefits, introduced a resolution to streamline VA claims for veterans over 60. The resolution passed unanimously, earmarking $250 to hire benefit advocates in every county office. On the council chamber floor, Alvarez called Roberts's story a wake-up call, urging colleagues to make sure those who served aren't forgotten once they leave uniform behind. 6 months later, Maya and Daniel stood beside a new teak bench installed in Prospect Hill Park. Its plaque reading, "No one stands alone." Roberts joined them, offering a brief toast. From a loaf of bread to a lifetime of support, this is what community looks like. The assembly of volunteers, veterans, and neighbors raised coffee cups in salute. For Roberts, every sunrise now held renewed purpose. He continued weekly visits to the Morning Watch, mentoring fellow veterans on navigating VA bureaucracy and sharing quiet encouragement. As autumn leaves drifted across the park's walkways, his steady presence, once overlooked, became a living testament to the power of small acts, collective compassion, and the promise that no hero need fight alone. 6 months after that unforgettable morning, Dawn's Promise had blossomed into a citywide beacon of hope. Every Thursday, the converted bakery truck, christened the Morning Watch, rolled out from Maya and Daniel Harris' modest headquarters on Union Street. Behind the serving window, Maya's gentle smile and Daniel's booming, "Coffee for you, Sergeant," drew veterans from corners of San Diego they'd long avoided. Among them was Sergeant James Roberts, whose steady presence had become both anchor and inspiration. Under fluttering banners reading, "No one stands alone," the Morning Watch team dished out steaming bowls of oatmeal, freshly baked bagels, and strong cups of black coffee. But the real nourishment came in quiet conversation. Roberts, now fully strapped into his VA-funded benefits and stable housing, took every opportunity to mentor newcomers, explaining how to navigate disability claims, reminding them that asking for help was not weakness, and most importantly, treating each man or woman as a person, not a statistic. Word of this grassroots initiative spread fast. Local news outlets ran features on the bright yellow truck with its sunrise logo. Neighborhood associations offered parking spaces, churches volunteered restrooms and storage. City Hall allocated a small annual grant, allowing Dawn's Promise to expand into 2 additional mobile units that served North County and Imperial Beach. Veterans who once shuffled through morning fog in downtown alleys now stood in short lines, sharing laughs and trading stories with former strangers who had become comrades in solidarity. Maya invited council member Rita Alvarez to join the service on one crisp November morning. As the leaves swirled around their feet, Alvarez announced a new pilot program, embedding veteran advocates in every major hospital and shelter. "Let this be our city's pledge," she declared, "that those who served us will never be hidden in silence again." A ripple of applause rose from the small crowd of uniformed Marines, firemen in dress blues, and veterans in worn field jackets. By dusk, as the last van rolled back to Union Street, Maya and Daniel stood with James Roberts at the park's new "No One Stands Alone" bench. They watched a group of young Marines from the local recruiting office eagerly fill coffee cups for two elderly Navy sailors who'd pulled off their caps in respectful greeting. Roberts leaned in, voice low but clear. "This is what happens when a simple act refuses to die." Maya nodded, her eyes shining with gratitude. Here, beneath a painted sky of fading gold, the promise they made, the promise to see and serve, was at last woven into the fabric of an entire community. As dawn's promise flourished, its ripples reached beyond San Diego's city limits. In March of the following year, North County High School history teacher Ms. Laura Chen assigned her students a project, "Unsung Heroes in Our Community." 17-year-old Raul Mendoza wrote passionately about Sergeant James Roberts and Maya Bennett's bakery outreach, capturing headlines, city resolutions, and the humble veterans lined up for coffee and conversation each Thursday. His "Kindness in Uniform" essay won the district-wide competition and was read aloud at a county board meeting, where board members nodded in solemn recognition. That spring, the city parks department unveiled a slight bronze relief in Prospect Hill Park, a candid scene of Maya handing a steaming cup to Roberts beneath the inscription, "No One Stands Alone." Local veterans, council members, and community volunteers gathered as Mayor Angela Cortez cut the ribbon. Roberts, dressed in his dress blues and surrounded by fellow Marines, wiped a tear as he traced the engraved lines with a gloved finger. "This bench," he said, voice thick with emotion, "is where I found dignity again." Meanwhile, the Cortez Initiative, named for the mayor's leadership, awarded $150 in matching grants to nonprofits serving homeless veterans. Dawn's Promise used its share to renovate an old firehouse in Barrio Logan, converting it into a drop-in center with warm showers, legal aid offices, and a small medical clinic staffed by volunteer nurses. The refurbished building's windows bore a mural depicting Maya's first loaf of bread and the Navy Cross that had unlocked Roberts's second chance. By summer, the morning watch trucks had expanded into 3 routes, one that served Imperial Beach and another that supplied breakfast burritos at VA outpatient clinics. Roberts led weekend benefits boot camps, teaching fellow vets how to navigate claims and appeal denials. Daniel Harris, now the program's operations director, trained volunteers in trauma-informed care. In classrooms, council chambers, and park gatherings, the stories of Maya Bennett, Daniel Harris, and Sergeant James Roberts became emblematic of how grassroots compassion can spark systemic change. As the Pacific breeze stirred the palm fronds above the "No One Stands Alone" bench, every passerby was reminded that a single act of kindness, persisted in morning after morning, can rewrite an entire city's narrative. In the wake of the park dedication and the launch of the Cortez Initiative, Dawn's Promise entered a new era of impact. By early summer, the remodeled Barrio Logan Firehouse welcomed over 50 veterans each week for warm showers, legal counseling, and free medical checkups, services once out of reach for those living on the streets. 3 morning watch trucks now crisscross San Diego County, serving 1.200 hot breakfasts every month from Imperial Beach to Escondido. Under Sergeant James Roberts's guidance, more than 200 veterans attended benefits boot camps, learning to navigate the VA's complex claims process. Meanwhile, City Hall awarded $150 in matching grants to local nonprofits, fueling expansion into nearby counties. Community volunteers, from retired teachers to local firefighters, staffed the drop-in center, offering everything from resume workshops to trauma-informed peer support. What began as a single loaf of bread each morning had grown into a full-scale network of care, proving that consistent compassion can reshape policy, rebuild lives, and strengthen the very fabric of a city. Life lesson and call to action. Actual change doesn't require grand gestures. It starts with showing up day after day. Seeing people, especially those we might otherwise overlook, as human beings deserving dignity. If this story moved you, share one small act of kindness you've witnessed or carried out in the comments below. Your example could inspire someone else to make a difference. And if you believe every person's story matters, hit subscribe and join us on the story canvas for more heartfelt journeys that remind us all that no one stands alone.